video, I'm going to show you how you can remove a clog from inside this gray contraption that sits inside the extruder assembly on your Robo E4. So if you haven't already followed along with the basic unclogging video, please do all of the steps in that before proceeding on to this one, where we take this piece apart. Now, in order to disassemble this, you're going to want to have a pair of needle nose pliers handy, some wire cutters, and a 2mm Allen wrench. Once you have your tools, power off your 3D printer. If you haven't already, pull up the tube on the top of your extruder assembly and use wire cutters to snip the filament right near the top. Next, look for the two red clips, one on either side. Pull them towards you, and then with a pair of pliers, grab the extruder and pull it all the way down. If it is cool to the touch, you can hold it with your fingers. Otherwise, continue using the pliers and carefully cut the filament right at the top of the nozzle itself. That will allow you to reload the same nozzle back in without any issues. Next, you're going to start disassembling the extruder assembly. This front panel is magnetic, so tilt it forward from the bottom to release, and then look for where the wire plugs in on the side here, and simply pull that down. You may want to use the needle nose pliers again for this process, but be careful you're only grabbing the plastic and not the wires itself. Set that aside for now. Use the Allen wrench to release the two screws on the top of the extruder housing. While you're at it, release the final screw in this opening hole on the left-hand side. With that completed, pinch in on either side of this gray piece at the top and lift to release. Use the Allen wrench to detach the extruder circuit board as you see here. There is a screw on the left and one on the right. Using the needle nose pliers, disconnect the black plastic wire from the front right and the red and black cable here in the front area. You can just sort of tuck the circuit board back behind the extruder assembly so it's ready when we're ready to reassemble. Use the Allen wrench to then loosen the 3 screws holding the smaller gray piece to the main extruder assembly. There's one in the top left, one in the top right, and one on the side on the right-hand side. Once all of these have been released, you should be able to lift the entire small gray assembly a little bit towards you, and then up and out of the 3D printer. Once you have this piece detached and you've set the screws aside, you need to break it open, so you need to take this lid component off the main body of it. To do so, take the wire clippers or a scraper and kind of try and wedge an opening in on one edge. You can sort of pivot or leverage it carefully open. Make sure as you're doing so that you leave the larger side down. That way none of the components fall out when you open it up. Once they're detached like this, lift the cover up and out of the way. Then lift this white gear up and out of the extruder. With that out of the way, you should be able to see any clogs that are happening inside this part of your 3D printer. After you've cleared out these clogs, you'll need to reassemble it. Make sure that the spring goes in first on the side next to the fan, and then the L shape here with the stepper motor inside slides in next to it. Add the large white gear into position, such that on the back of it, the peg lines up with this hole. And then you can reattach your top cover piece. The peg that stayed attached to it will go into the opening on that L-shaped stepper motor. With this unclogged, you're now able to reassemble your printer and get back to printing. Reassemble it by sliding the whole piece back into position, and then use the Allen wrench to reattach the 3 screws. Grab your circuit board and reconnect the black wires as well as the fan wire into the circuit board. Reinstall the circuit board using the shortest of the remaining screws. When you finish that, reinstall the cover by sliding it over your circuit board. Be sure to push in on the two front edges so that it clicks into place. Use the remaining screws to secure the top to the bottom. And then don't forget your final screw that you removed from this left-hand side. Plug back in the fan and then reconnect the front cover using its magnetic contraption. Finish reassembling your extruder by placing the nozzle back in the opening on the bottom and pushing it all the way up and into place until you hear it click. There you go! You have now cleared a clog from inside your extruder assembly and are ready to power your printer back on and start loading filament.